Yeah, you are on there.
Am I on? So I'm still here.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Country.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nolo. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well, thank you.
Volume is
Why do you
very
look so
low.
excited? Why do you sound so excited?
I'm so excited. I'm youth. Remember, youth is exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of
Can
us
everyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. All right, thank you.
would be nice to see everybody.
Yes, it would be nice to see everyone.
Yeah, we can't
Colleagues,
see.
if you don't mind, please let's see your beautiful face or your handsome self. Hey, Jay.
Hey, how you doing?
Oops, lost it.
Great.
Hello.
Awesome. Colleagues, the time is 7 minutes past 10. I believe all of us are here, and those who are having challenges with the network, they will probably join us later. Colleagues, without wasting more time, as I've already said, good morning, a very loud good morning, a happy one. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our speakers, our panelists, fellow colleagues, senior managers from different departments, all protocol observed. Colleagues, let us take a moment of silence to observe those lives taken over the past week through the violence or other criminal activities in the different provinces. Also, those who lost their loved ones due to COVID-19 complications, those who were infected, and those who have recovered, and also not forgetting those that are affected. Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome to our NSG webinar. And our topic for this session is maximizing own potential through entrepreneurship and understanding government's procurement processes. My name is Lehlohonolo Maila, and I'm your program director for this session. I'm currently employed by the National School of Government in the Chief Directorate Induction. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I've been employed in the public service for over 10 years. Wow. If this was a face-to-face session, you would be clapping hands for me. Well, thank you if you're clapping. My journey in the public service started as an intern, and I got promoted into different ranks. I'm currently responsible for managing and coordinating induction programs, training in the national departments and regions. I'm also a training facilitator for the Breaking Barriers into the Public Service, famously known as the BB2E, as well as other training programs in the induction unit. Without wasting time, let us welcome Ms. Nombulelo Mtombeni from the NSG to give us a brief background about the NSG. Over to you, Ms. Mtombeni.
Okay, thank you very much, Program Director. Can you see me? Is my video reflecting on the screen? Program Director, I need to get an indication from you before I start. If I'm
Yes, we
audible,
can see you. We can see you.
or you can see me. Okay, thank you.
We can see you. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. I can see you. I can see the numbers, the 153 individuals that are in the platform. Good morning, and we welcome you. My responsibility and task this morning, it's a very a short one. If I can request Sibusiso, our admin in the back office, to please share my screen for me. If I can just put a disclaimer a little bit, there is a bit of a challenge with network this morning. So we are trying to do our best to ensure that we don't allow any disturbance to prevent us from having this occasion today. So whilst Busiso is sharing, my name is Nombulelo, and my surname is Mtombeni, and I am in the same chief directorate as Nolo has indicated in induction. But coupled with that, I'm also a director in cadet and foundation management programs. The implementation of those programs is targeting interns, youth, and officials that are appointed in the public service at the levels of level 2 to level 8. So we provide different interventions for government departments, for state-owned enterprises and local government. So that is about me. I have a very short presentation, especially for those we don't want to take for granted that all the people that are in this platform know about the National School of Government. We are a government department. As you can see there on the screen, the beautiful building, it's situated in Sunnyside between the Department of Trade and Industry on our left, and on our right-hand side, we have got the South African Police Service, a head office there. Next slide, please, Boo. And in fact, what I just wanted to share with you is that the existence of this department, because sometimes people mistake us for an agency, we are mandated by the Public Service Act for our existence. We are specializing in training and development as an institution for the public service in South Africa. So our responsibility is also drawn from the Public Administration Management Act, which requires us as a school to promote the progressive realization of the values and the principles governing public administration. And therefore, the development of programs and the implementation of those programs, both in the public service and in the state-owned enterprises and local government, like I've indicated before, rest as a responsibility in the National School of Government. We also align ourselves with Public Finance Management Act, which actually determines how we operate. We are a cost recovery entity, meaning that we are not getting a lot of money from the National Treasury, but rather we depend on departments paying us to provide the interventions that are different that I will share with you for them. But the last thing, we are also associated with a lot of the SETAs, the Sectors for Education and Training Authority. We work together with them very closely in the development of programs. So you can imagine they represent all the sectors. Therefore, we find ourselves partnering with them in many of these programs that they deliver. Next slide, please, Boo. Okay, thank you for that. So what do we actually emphasize in the programs that we deliver? What we emphasize is that we are very passionate working together with the Public Service Commission on institutionalizing constitutional values and principles, which are founded in Section 195 of the Constitution. So what I mean by that, colleagues, is that most of the programs that we deliver, be it ethics, be it human resources, be it service delivery programs, we try and indicate and ensure that we inculcate the values and the principles that are founded in the Constitution. What we also do through our programs is to strengthen the capacity in the state for national, provincial, and local government to ensure that the work that we do as public servants, or those who envisage to come into the public service, are coming understanding the roles and the responsibilities of the developmental state that we are operating in, and that we are here to serve the people in a participatory manner as public servants. We are also passionate about the vocational related interventions that improve public sector performance. Colleagues, I'm sure you would have noticed that there is a lot that is not going right. But be that as it may, I believe with all my heart that, if the few that are diligent in what they do when they enter the public service, the difference that they can make can be able to resonate with the others that are probably not doing the right thing. But we deliver these interventions, hoping that we'll sharpen the skills and the knowledge of those that are in the public service. And on a regular basis, we go for refreshment courses, we go and instill new legislation that is developed in the public service so that people are aware of what is happening. Hence, we are saying one of our biggest roles in terms of what we see is to develop effective and efficient leadership within the public service, improve governance and accountability in the public sector, and most of all, professionalize the public service through different reforms, including the one that we are busy with today. The next slide, Sue. This is just a slide that seeks to summarize the total spectrum of programs that we are delivering in the National School of Government. Is just to indicate that when people enter the public service as new officials, we take them through induction programs, different induction programs for different levels in which people join the public service. Then we also, after inducting them, because remember, they come already qualified, they come with their knowledge that they would have gained from where they come from, but they need to understand the environment in which they are going to render services, that it's not like in the private sector where you are chasing profits. Here, we need to chase effective service delivery to our people. And then we also have functional management and skills development programs. We have got leadership programs, and we have we believe in the continuous professional development of all South Africans, colleagues. When we speak about relevance, it has never been important for us to be relevant like now. We have seen, because of the pandemic, that the environment has shifted, and therefore continuous long life learning is very critical. We are relearning and unlearning a lot of things in this era that we are in. Therefore, it's one of the things that we believe, if we unlearn and relearn new skills, we will be able to improve our performance, and all those will lead to improved service delivery. Next slide, Sue. So colleagues, just to summarize, how do we offer these interventions? We have various forms of platforms that we use. We have got your face-to-face classroom learning process. We have got e-learning platforms where our learning is done through the online platform. We have got flagship programs through our partnerships with entities like funders out there, like the European Union, which is one of our biggest partners at the moment. We conduct seminars and conferences. We have got a variety of master classes for our senior legislative officials like the presidency, premiers, mayors, and members of the executives and CEOs in the state-owned enterprises. So we train also internationally through partnerships like China and so on. And then we also have mentoring and coaching services that we help departments to implement in their own areas of work. But lastly, we also have just-in-time interventions, depending on how the departments need us. So who is our target audience? As it is outlined there on the screen, it's the public sector employees, like I've said, it's all those entities that you see in the second bullet, but most of all, the youth and the prospective public servants. This webinar today is looking at how, as the National School of Government, we can better position ourselves as a school to reach out to our youth, both those that are in internships in departments, but also those that have been in internships and have left the internships. Right now, colleagues, we are in a state where we are realizing that the responsibility of job creation no more lies with government, but it lies with the communities themselves. That is where the problems are, and that is where we need to solve these problems. So what we have done as the National School and the Chief Directorate, where I am heading the programs. Next slide, please, Luke. We have come to a decision through our leadership, which I would like to take this opportunity and thank them. They have made it possible for us to get these licenses so that we can be able to reach out to the youth, even at the time of the difficulty of this pandemic. So far we have done 2 webinars, which were very successful. On the 9th of June, we had one that was looking at South African Constitution and the youth 25 years later. And at this webinar, we had almost 160 people that attended, including interns, including HRD officials in different departments, like we have today, all the 9 provinces logging into this webinar. So it was such a success that we felt that the comments that people are making when we are running these webinars, we are going to look at them, prioritize them, and make sure that we continue this dialogue and communication. The second one was on the 24th of June, where we invited a dynamic lady who came to talk to us about mastering the self, life in and beyond the internship. Now, what did she leave us with, this lady? She indicated to say, as youth, you have to start where you are. Use what you have and do whatever you can with the little that you have. So colleagues, we are going to hear today some of the entrepreneurs that have established themselves in the midst of the difficulties that are there, to ensure that we all learn from them, we pick up what they have done, and we can be able to run with some of these things in our own communities. Colleagues, it's a new era. We are now talking from the privacy of our own spaces, but we are saying, watch the space. We are committed to ensure that our youth, no matter how small the percentage can be, they will share with you in their presentations the difficulties that they encountered and the successes that they have achieved. But all I can say is that it is not doom and gloom. They say when the fire is raging, like we think the fire is. Next slide, Snoop. What we can always be hopeful for is that when the fire dies down, amongst those ashes, we are going to have a community that can rise and be able to create hope, like this group of learners that I spent time with. This is the last group. So the last slide, I just want to encourage everybody and say, we can be happy again. This is a group of learners from Pietermaritzburg that we did the breaking barriers to entry with in Pietermaritzburg towards the end of, I think it was the beginning of 2020, when we could still do things face to face. Let's not lose hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and that hope lies within us who are attending this webinar. Thank you very much, Program Director. I'm giving the mic back to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mtombeni, for giving us a brief background about NSG, and also looking at the fact that we're not living in a normal world, colleagues. Things have changed and we need to adapt to these changes. And I just also want to thank those who just joined us. You are more than welcome. And when we started the program, we had about 155. And now we have 185. Ladies and gentlemen, this shows that within COVID, there's something positive that came out of it, because you're able to navigate through Zoom, and that's why you're here. Thank you so much. And I'm going to introduce our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Her name is Itumele Matla. And I'm just going to give you a brief background about her company. She's a young entrepreneur, and she will be taking us through the next session. Itumele Matla is the founder and director of Reneilwe Matla Trading and Projects. She is an entrepreneur in the agricultural sector. Her company farms and produces chicken meat. Ms. Matla is also a qualified public administrator and holds an honors degree in public administration and management. She is currently also an academic facilitator in her discipline at the University of the Free State. Ms. Matla's rich background in academia, leadership, and NPO management have equipped her in her entrepreneurial journey. She loves her work and working with people, and aims to build a successful business that will continue to make a positive impact in the community. Itumeleng is passionate about service and agriculture and the potential it has to ignite economic development and growth. Over to you, Itumeleng. Itumeleng? Itumeleng, are you there? Itumeleng.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. There you are. Thank you, Itumeleng. Please take over.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As announced, my name is Itumele Matla, and today I'm going to be presenting to you and hopefully motivate and touch some of you that will be listening today. And as I wait for my presentation to be shared, I don't know if it can be shared on your side. Could you please maybe assist me on that?
Sibusiso, please share the presentation. Oh, you look so beautiful, Itumeleng.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you. I've been really looking forward to this talk. I think it's because for me, I identify with the audience today, especially your interns, because I was in their shoes at some point. I'm a qualified public administrator, and I have been an intern. And for me, entrepreneurship was the less traveled journey that I had to embark on. So I'm truly delighted, excited, and I'm looking forward, to our talk. And what I share, hopefully it can motivate and inspire someone.
Thank you. It will definitely motivate our young entrepreneurs out there. Thank you. Let me check with Sbu as well.
Okay.
You know, with technology, there's always those glitches. Thank you.
Definitely.
Colleagues, Sbu is trying to put the presentation for us. And also, colleagues, there's, ladies and gentlemen, there's a chat icon there. So you are more than welcome to send us your views, your experiences, your questions after our speaker, you know, just to get to know what you are currently faced with and your innovative ideas going forward. So please use the chat box. I don't know if you're able to see it. Those who are using their laptops, it's so clear. I'm not sure those who are using mobile phones. Remember with our current normal, you can be able to do anything sitting on your bed, you know, relaxing, sitting on a couch. Some of you don't even want to show your videos, probably because you're still in your PJs, you are sipping your coffee or tea. So it's understandable. There's the presentation, colleagues. Let us, all right, there it is. Over to you, Itumeleng.
Okay. I see this is my profile. There's another one, which is the actual presentation. It has our topic for today. So yes, this is the personal profile.
Wow, we can hear the chickens crowing.
It's wonderful because I'm literally at the farm at the moment. So yes.
That
This
is so wonderful.
Yeah, it's been a drastic move, moving from you know, the city life and now to, you know, the rural areas. But I'm loving it. It's really been wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that is the presentation. Okay, so again, colleagues, thank you so much for your patience and your time as well. I want to also extend my thanks to the NSG for affording me this opportunity to speak into somebody's life and hopefully inspire them and to start, whether it is in entrepreneurship or otherwise. So today, the focus of our the topic of today is on maximizing your own potential through entrepreneurship and understanding government procurement. As I have been introduced, I am Itumeleng Matla. I'm the founder and co-director of Renewile Matla Trading and Projects. You can move to the next slide. Okay. This is actually the wrong slide. There's one that has been amended. There's one that has been amended. I don't know if I'll be able to try because this is the wrong one. Could I please be given maybe access? I'll try to share from my side, because I just for the sake of time.
Okay, Itumeleng, Sibusiso will assist with that.
Maybe access. I'll try to share from my side,
Yes,
because
right.
I just for the sake of time.
Yeah, co-host, you can share.
Okay, Itumeleng, Sibusiso will assist.
All right, so there you go. Okay, so yes, so today I want to speak to the youth, especially on development and empowerment opportunities that government has afforded us and how we can best utilize those opportunities. Currently, the South African government is guided by the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which underscores the rights of its people to participate in their country's development. In addition to this, the country has established other legislative frameworks that operationalize the provisions in the Constitution. Now, 2021 marks the 44th anniversary of the 16 June 1996 student uprising in Soweto, and exactly 25 years since the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa was promulgated. This year's focus is on youth under the theme of Charlotte, the year of Charlotte Maxeke, growing youth empowerment for an inclusive and transformed society. For us, this translates in many different spheres of our lives, and especially in the different backgrounds that we come from. So this is me. I'm not going to share this again. It has already been shared. Let me just delve straight into what it is that I do in my company. So Renela Matla Trading and Projects is a Black-owned female enterprise with Itumeleng and Ntabise Matla as the directors. The poultry farm is situated in Gwatwa, which is a rural area in the Eastern Free State. Our vision is clear. Fresh Poultry is a brand that is committed to producing and providing fresh organic chickens of great quality and taste, giving our customers a memorable experience with our product and ensuring that our product meets the full specification and standards of national and international markets. Our vision, our mission, therefore, is we aim to develop our brand through sustainable growth and development, to be innovators, leading in excellence in the poultry industry through excellent customer service and satisfaction. So this is one of our products. So we produce our own chickens locally, and we supply a wide range of chicken products to our clients. Now, Fresh Poultry is aware of the dire concerns relating to unemployment in South Africa. And as a result, we employ locally. All our employees come from Gwatwa and surrounding areas. And this is due to the unemployment. We are trying to also combat against lowering unemployment, food insecurity, which is a real issue in our area, and to improve the economy in the area as well. In terms of our employment, we prioritize women and also youth. Fresh Poultry farms, processes, and distributes its own chickens. And this literally allows us to provide chicken that is of great quality, but also at affordable prices. So these is our product lines. Fresh Poultry, you always find it fresh. It is brine-free, without any growth hormones and 100% tasty. Our clients can
Itumeleng, sorry to disturb you. Can you please enlarge your slides because we're struggling to see.
Okay.
Yes.
Now? Okay. So when we started our operation, we started way in 2020 in March. And you will remember that this was when the first hard lockdown was initiated, and we had to come back home, some of us. And at that time, I remember my sister had just completed her qualification in BSc microbiology and chemistry. And we started to think, at the moment, we have time on our hands. What can we do in the interim when employment doesn't seem to be an opportunity that is available at this point? So we looked into what we already knew in terms of our skill set and knowledge, and what we have been exposed to in terms of business. Chickens is not really something new in our family. It has been, something that was being done, but at a very informal and unformalized stage. So we decided to maybe start a poultry business, formalize it, and see where it could take us. For us, this meant that we had to make some sacrifices. Obvious journey that you want, you are going to have to make certain sacrifices. Success does not come easy. It does come at a cost, and you need to be willing to make it. So fortunately enough, we operate in the agricultural sector. So when the hard lockdown was initiated, we actually were permitted to continue with our operations. South Africa still needed to be fed, and that's exactly what we did. So these are our key successes, what we have achieved from when we started up until thus far. We started with only 50 chickens. When we started, that was what we could do at that time. And as Menombulelo had also explained when she was presenting, that we utilized what we have at that time, the resources that we had, the knowledge that we had, and we utilized it in a way that could help us to start, to at least start. And that's what we did. So we started with 50 chickens. Today we have grown to 700 chickens of our own production. But due to the high growing demand for our products, both locally and beyond the borders of Free State, we had to find other ways of still meeting the demand, but in a more strategic way, because infrastructure was not allowing us at that time to supply and satisfy the demand. And hence we then went into partnerships with local emerging farmers that supply us with their chicken. And with their supply together with ours, we are now operating at a supply of 3,000 chickens to our current market. And please note that this is still not enough, but it is working at the moment. Okay, we have also been able to create 10 jobs. We started out with 1 employee. Now we have 10 employees that we have employed from the local area, and 1 is still permanent. The rest are casual workers, and they come in when we need to process our orders. We've also purchased equipment that allows us to process our chickens more efficiently and be able to meet the target demand coming from our clients and the market as well. In terms of our production, we actually utilize a hybrid energy supply system. Load shedding is a reality in South Africa. I think more so in Kwakwa, with our challenges with electricity and other services here. And so we invested into getting a solar system. So we operate, whether or not there is electricity, our production never stops. And for us, that has been a huge advantage. And we also have received a 5,000 liter water tank from the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. This has greatly also helped with our water supply. Sometimes water is a problem. And with this water tank, we are able to sufficiently supply our chickens with water, which is quite essential for our production success. And also ensuring that we have clean quality water. So this is all through the power of collaboration, interacting with people, letting them know what it is we do, what we need, and they are able then to see how they can best assist us. And this is how the department came and helped us. So from when we started, we grew our customer base. We no longer just supply in Kwakwa, but we have clients in Bethlehem and clients in Bloemfontein, which has been quite a wonderful achievement for us in terms of revenue. In terms of coaching and mentorship, we have received tremendous support from CEDA and other private institutions such as the Gracia Machel Trust. Through those two institutions, we were selected to participate in the CEDA Youth Enterprise program that is currently running, and as well as the Gracia Machel Trust program that has been running from March. We are actually coming to a completion of the program, which is Women Creating Wealth. I cannot even start to explain how much these two institutions have contributed to the growth and development of our business. It has been immense. As we speak, right now, the Gracia Machel Trust has literally organized investors for us, of which we're going to be pitching this coming week to these investors. And by virtue of this opportunity, we will be able to scale our business from where we are currently to where we need to be in terms of our next phase. And I'll just go into depth as I continue with my presentation. Right, we are also a member of the South African Poultry Association. This has created a voice for us, especially with their prominent presence in the industry and information that is relevant and current directly and indirectly that can influence our production is easily accessible through them. And the support we get from them has also been immense. From all of these efforts, we have literally been able to increase our revenue by 80%. This is quite significant considering the circumstances that we started in. And yes, the agricultural sector was open to work, but we must also consider that there are clients that we were servicing. At that time, we could not, render our services to. And those are your local restaurants that were closed at that time. So this is a huge achievement. And lastly, the most recent success or achievement that we have just gained is that we have won the MSc Business Capital Competition hosted by the MSc Institute and also in partnership with CEDA. This is an opportunity that came even through our networks, our business networks. We applied, we took the chance, and because we qualified, we were then shortlisted to the finalists. And when we presented our business, we received the good news that our business actually won, and we are now waiting for the payment of capital that is going to come from the MSC. But apart from the business capital, what we'll also receive is business support to ensure success of the plans that we have set in place, which is quite important also for us. I'm not going to go into depth with the challenges that we are currently experiencing in the labor market. We are already, we know the statistics. High unemployment rates. This year we have hit the all-time high. It is a serious concern. It is a serious policy concern, and needs all of us to play our part in ensuring and seeing how we can address some of these challenges that we are seeing in South Africa. So I explored entrepreneurship as a potential venture journey that I saw could not only be a blessing to me in terms of empowerment, empowering myself financially and otherwise, but also to empower others. So entrepreneurship is definitely for me, one of the best alternatives to addressing the crises of unemployment in South Africa. It definitely allows one to monetize their ideas, talents, and skills. You are able to contribute to the development of the economy. It requires, however, individuals who are able to identify a need in the market and establish a way of servicing that need. And that is, in essence, business and entrepreneurship. So times have drastically changed, and new opportunities are emerging definitely, which are calling for young entrepreneurs who can recognize these opportunities and benefit also from them. Let me share my journey. I said I was once in the intern's shoes at some point. I had to make a decision concerning my life. Will I wait to be employed permanently, or will I make my own empowered decision to create employment not only for myself, but for others? And this is exactly what I did. So the reality is, not everyone that is an intern right now will be employed. And perhaps this is the perfect time for them to start considering entrepreneurship as a possible venture. I entered into entrepreneurship making use of the knowledge and skill sets that I acquired when I was doing my studies in leadership, student leadership, and also when I entered, the world of work. And I was an intern for an organization called Phenomenal Women. Wow. That, I think for me, that was when the love and passion for entrepreneurship was ignited. My goodness, working with those phenomenal women who have set their mark in their respective industries. I'm one person who finds inspiration in anything. And by virtue of observing how they worked, the time and effort that they put into ensuring their successes in their businesses and also families and communities, etc., because it was an NPO, I realized that my being in business can also empower communities. And sometimes businesses, because our bottom line is making a profit, we tend to not to consider such. I saw how these women created such a phenomenal impact in communities. There was a project that I was organizing because I was the administrator there. And how the impact that was caused at the orphanage, how those people were so thankful for what they had received. And this was just through the mobilization of these women, moving resources, networking with people, and ensuring that someone is actually assisted who needs that help. So I know it's a journey less traveled, but it is worthwhile. Trust me. I had to make a decision of moving from my comfort zone, moving from what I knew in terms of, working as a public servant and entering now into, the world of business. It was uncomfortable because I had to now, expose myself to something that I was at that time literally unknown. But it was the most satisfying and rewarding decisions I ever made. So I'm going to quote a quote by Gina Militia that says, "A comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there." And that is so true. You have to come out of that box. You have to come out, of that comfort zone. And once you do, you will see there's a world of opportunities available out there. So I utilized entrepreneurship as a tool to break employment barriers. Arguably, for me, being in my own business and running my own business is actually more rewarding than working for someone. Because for me, it's bigger than that. It is me creating an opportunity to build a lasting legacy for those that will be coming after me beyond my living years. So how do we then maximize our entrepreneurial potential? This was my journey. When I started, this was exactly what helped me to get to where I am now. So I had to believe in myself. I was entering into a space that, where I had to learn, because now I'm entering into a new industry sector as a whole. So I had to open myself up to learning, being taught, but also seeing how I can utilize what I have to also contribute and build my business. Believe in yourself. Be confident. Remove that imposter mentality. You are there because you deserve to be there. You are there to serve a purpose. What you have is valuable and it does matter. You have to have a vision. I never start anything without having a vision for it. I think for me, that is what drives me. That is what drives the passion and commitment towards that. Have a vision for what you want to do. Why do you want to start a business? What are you going to do through your business? How is it going to speak to who you are? How is it going to speak to who you want to become, essentially? Tap into your passions. This is what I did. Tap into your passions, what you love doing. Because listen, you're going to need that passion and drive when the tough does get going, and that does happen more so than not. Have an awareness also of opportunities. This is very important, especially as an entrepreneur. I think when we entered into this poultry industry, we literally hit the ground running. Everybody that was relevant in the industry, be it industry specialists, be it business networks, if you had an ear to listen, we would tell you who we were and what we do and what we can offer you and what we still need to get to where we need to be. And that is a spirit that you need to possess, right? Be able to identify opportunities and go for them. But like any other thing, Not every opportunity is for you and not suitable for you. So it is quite important for you to invest your efforts and your time, resources into what is going to be suitable for your business and for you as an individual. You also need to be flexible and adaptable. This is primary to your survival and the survival of your business. Have courage going beyond starting. This is what we had to do when we started as well. It's easy to start something. It's not easy to sustain it and to finish it and follow it through till the end. But it is possible. It is possible because we are doing it. There were times I remember in our business where we were literally working day and night, doing our research, finding out how we could grow our business, how we could get our business to where we know it needs to be. Sometimes it was difficult. Sometimes you wouldn't sleep because you couldn't sleep. The business was demanding you. There were times when we didn't have resources at all financially. And for those who are in the agricultural industry know that, this industry is quite capital intensive. So there were times when we didn't have sufficient resources financially, but we had to now strategize. How best can we still get to what we need to get done, but utilizing other means, maybe, mobilizing alternative means of getting that without using money. So yes, it was challenging, but we are still standing. You need to be resilient. The spirit of an entrepreneur is one of resilience, definitely, and have patience. Not everything is going to, mushroom and popcorn happen now when you want it. Sometimes you have to undergo the process of waiting. And if you have made the right decisions and know exactly that this is what you need, then the wait is definitely worth it. And ensure that the results, therefore, also speak to, the sacrifice of waiting. It has to be worthwhile. You need to be persistent. You need to be persistent. Be persistent, but not just persistent. Be persistent in excellence. When we started, I remember the way we operated, and even now, it was one of professionalism. And this is an attribute that we had learned, when we were working and etc., and even in university. So it was one of professionalism, one of great quality, because we didn't want to give mediocre simply because we are still considered small. So that's another thing. Just because you are rated as a small business does not mean now you need to provide mediocrity. No. If you can, whenever you can, however you can, deliver your best, deliver excellence. And that comes with preparedness. That comes with, having sufficient knowledge to make certain decisions when doing your work, right? And also have a continuous willingness to learn. This is, you need this. Learning is forever. Let it be a norm to you. Never think that you have arrived. Even when in our journey, just because we have been in the industry since last year up until now, we continue to learn. We continue to develop and to grow and re-engineer ourselves and remove, those boxes that you have put yourself into. Remove the perceptions that you have created that because I went now to get my qualification, I got this internship, and by virtue then I have to have be employed or get permanent employment. Nothing is owed to you. The decision and the onus is always upon you. Remove those mindsets. Never consider what others are saying. Make the decision that is going to serve you and your best interest. So all of these.
Yes. Wow, sorry to disturb your flow. We're running over time. Can you please try to wrap up so that we still stick to managing our time?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Sorry, sometimes you get okay. So I'm just going to be very practical now in terms of someone that has an idea and perhaps wants to pursue this journey of entrepreneurship. Where do you even start? First, you need to explore whether or not your business idea is feasible. And by feasibility, we mean, can we bank on it? Can you make money off it? And will you be able to even scale it up when needed, right? Develop a business model for your business. This will help you to just have an overview of what is exactly what you're going to provide and how you're going to do that and who is going to be the recipient of your offering. So that is important. Start thinking about the vision you have for your business and resources that are required to get you there, right? Developing a roadmap, set SMART goals. These will help you to set executable roadmaps to get you to the end goal, which is your vision. So you also need to lay a solid foundation, which is quite important. So get your business registered. Ensure that you have a business account separate from your personal one. Ensure that your compliance is in order. And if you have employees, ensure that you also register them with the Department of Labor. How do you access opportunities? I know sometimes, the big word, which is the funding, is always an issue. But what I have experienced in our business is that funding is not the only resource you need. Yes, it's important, but amongst other things, you also need, knowledge concerning certain things. You need capacity to effectively operate a successful business. So do your research, do thorough research, due diligence, explore possible partnerships that are available locally up until the global platform. Currently, government has just initiated the free trade agreement that has given us the opportunity to trade with other African countries. And this is quite a wonderful opportunity because immediately when you enter into foreign trade, the quality of your product can even be purchased at a higher rate, considering that you meet the standards that are required in those levels. You need to inculcate the spirit of excellence in your business. Your employees also need to operate with this kind of spirit. Learn the art of networking. I think, if anything, on this slide, learn the art of networking. Get involved, speak to people, let them know who you are, and also see how certain relevant stakeholders can assist you in the growth and development of your business. We were able to sustain our business in the first financial year and performed quite well, not because we could do it or we had the ability. Yes, we did, but it was through formed partnerships, industry specialists. We work closely with the Department of Agriculture that helps us with advice, resources, and opportunities. CEDA, we work closely with them. They have been able to even assist us with certain stages that we found ourselves in our business. The list goes on. The STEER, the NYDA, and etc. So make use of your connections. Get mentorship. People who have done what you want to do are successful and continue to succeed. Get in touch with those people. There are people who are willing to provide you with mentorship. And we have been able to see success even through these mentorships, because there are certain financial pitfalls and other pitfalls that you can inherently avoid by virtue of tapping into wisdom and knowledge from those who have gone before you. Okay, I'm just going to close this one to say, in change, there lay an entire world of opportunities. The onus is therefore on you. With procurement, I'm not going to then go into depth with this, but if you want to become a supplier, know that at the essence of what you are going to be providing, quality service is of paramount importance, and it has to be provided with excellent customer service, whether you are supplying government or private institutions. This is very important. When becoming a supplier, always speak to the buyer and the decision makers in that particular organization. Engage them on your offering. Your business success is also vested in you serving your market well. We have grown in leaps and bounds, not because our product is excellent. Yes, it's excellent, but we have grown from the feedback that comes from our market, and we're able to process and develop our processes. And that's how you grow. You don't grow in isolation. Listen to what your people are saying, and then make the necessary amendments. And this is what we did. By virtue of that, we have been able to grow our customer base and also grow our scale from what we started to what we are now. So these are the institutions that I just provided for you that you can approach in terms of business support, and that have helped us tremendously in our business, and also for funding. Remember, I said not every opportunity is for you. So you need to be able to target opportunities, especially with funding, opportunities that you qualify for. You don't want to be utilizing resources and efforts only to be rejected. So be strategic also in that. In closing, I just want to also, thank government for affording us these different opportunities. I have seen that, sometimes we think that funding is the only resource we need, but there's a whole lot, and there is, assistance that you can get from government. I know personally. The Department of Agriculture currently is running a program focused on youth farmers, and there are also opportunities in agro-processing and manufacturing that you could consider. Right now, we are actually in the move of industrializing our operation. Imagine. This is an exciting time for youth. This is an exciting time for youth in business. So we are literally just working towards moving from our current level, which is still an emerging farmer, to now being a formalized agro processor in poultry, and working at that at an industrial scale. So we are literally very excited about that. So in closing, remember, you need to be educated. Educated does not mean you went to university and got your qualification. I always tell my students, you are able to utilize your skill set, knowledge and experience that you have acquired, and be able to implement that in a manner that is going to be yielding the most optimal results for you. So you are equipped already.
It's so nice to listen to you, Itumeleng, but we are really running out of time, Itumeleng. And I'm definitely sure that you will share more information with us. And also, we will share your presentation with those who are interested in following your footsteps. And also, taking into account that you've already indicated that we also need more chicken farms. So those who are interested in trying out a Chisai chicken, you are more than welcome to get hold of us, and we can link you up with Itumeleng so that you can also start your business. And we also know that there is money in the villages, and we can adapt to any environment if we are serious about our business. And also, as you have highlighted, that education is key. Thank you so much, Itumeleng, for your time. And without wasting more time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna introduce our next speaker. His name, apologies, is Musa Molapo. And I'm just gonna give you a brief overview. Musa Molapo is a zoologist and conservationist. He's the future founder of Future Farms, where he provides the services for a more self-sustainable lifestyle. He holds a bachelor in biology from Palm Beach Atlantic University in the United States of America. He has experience working in government-run organizations, having worked at Houston Zoo, which is in USA. He has experience in South Africa's national parks, having volunteered at Loskop Dam Nature Reserve and collaborated with the University of Pretoria in Kruger adjacent Manyeleti Game Reserve. He's an advocate for social and ecological sustainability. And through the skills he has developed and is developing, he aims to positively affect them in South Africa. Welcome, Musa. Musa, are you here?
I am here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Musa. Please take over.
Right. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to first and foremost thank the organizers and the leadership for the opportunity. It seems like it's been so long since we've had a conference, let alone in person, but now we're relegated to webinars. I wonder if we'll ever get back to that normal, but allow me to share my screen very quickly and then we'll get right into it. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, Musa, we can see your screen.
Perfect. As I was introduced, my name is Musa Malapo, and my presentation today will be geared more towards the people that are already into entrepreneurship, those people that, and those youth that would be gaining their education right now, or those youth that are in their internships. I'll be sharing my experiences through government organizations, those experiences that I had, and the mistakes that I've made along the way, and the decisions that also informed my choice to go into entrepreneurship. Firstly, I'd like to share a few of the mistakes I've made, I don't think we highlight these much because we like to hear about the success stories more than anything else, but these sharing our mistakes and sharing on how we overcame them will allow others the opportunity to bypass them. And I believe it's of utmost importance that we also highlight these. And the three mistakes that I made prior to choosing to become an entrepreneur, prior to choosing to start my own business, prior to being where I am today. The first of which is I bought into a misconception about education. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying education is bad or a disadvantage in any way, but I went in with a mindset that, okay, I've got my bachelor's, it's from abroad, I'm Black, I'm going into a market where there are not too many Black people, BEE will be working for me here, but I thought this would guarantee the spot that I would have, but it did not, and I will get into that in a little bit. The second mistake I didn't do is I did not ask enough questions about my desired field. Age informs a lot of the decisions we make in life, and as a young person at the time, I did not ask the questions pertinent and relevant to where I am now. And the third mistake I had made is I hadn't considered other options for myself. I was I had tunnel vision when it came to this desired field that I had picked. Nothing else was going to do. I wouldn't settle for anything else. And that would come to bite me later. But let's get into the first one. I thought having all of this education, I thought having these diplomas, I thought having gone overseas, it would just about guarantee me a spot in the field. Like who's going to say no to a BSc? Who's going to say no to having worked in a zoo, both in the States and having worked in national parks and volunteered in government-run nature reserves here? Who is going to say no to that? But unfortunately, I came to the end of that road and I was not absorbed into that market, because for as long as I can remember, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to work at the big Krugers, the Pindas, the private or government owned. I wanted to have my life in my profession, but that was not the reality that I had experienced. So for those of us that are still coming up in our education, keep an open mind to the things that are presented to you. It's the opportunities that are presented to you, to what you're learning, because there is no guarantee that your degree will land you in that field. However, having gotten through this degree, having gone through the schooling and the education, I did gain a greater knowledge base, and that allowed me to branch out. Although it was not my primary focus, I had credible information. I had an informed view about these other aspects that I have learned about and gone into, and then I could grow from there. I did not ask enough questions about my desired field. Okay, here, especially when I was in Loskop Dam Nature Reserve, one thing that I had noticed now that I had not noticed then was majority of the staff and the people working there were older, like 30, 40 plus. And I had not wondered to myself, why are there no youth here? Why are the people here not as diverse and young as I thought they would be? As it would turn out, in that particular field, it is a lifetime commitment, more or less. If you want to succeed in the zoology conservation field, or if you want to find permanent employment in these fields, you're talking 20, 30, 40 years that you'll be working in there. Because there was no one I came across that didn't have a minimum of 15 years at the place. Forget about in the field, but at that specific game reserve. And for me, that was stifling, because I was unable to see myself in the future from there. Like I could see myself there now, but I had not informed myself about where is it that I wanted to be. I know this is what I want to do now. This is the field I want to be in now, but I did not ask those pertinent questions. And in not asking those questions, I was not able to reconcile if this was a good fit for me. And that is what I needed to do. As a man with a family now, that is one thing I am unable to compromise on. This work, particularly even if you're living in Gauteng and you're going back and forth to these game reserves, it has you away from your family months at a time. And if you are not away from your family months at a time, you have to move your family up there. And upon reflection, I see that was the case. If you're working up there, it's either you're up there with your family or you have to leave your family, neither of which I was willing to do now, looking back. And the next thing from asking questions is I did not ask myself, or I did not find out what was the social political climate around my field. While I was interning, while I was there, it was during the times of the university protests. It was during the times where unemployment was slowly rising. And so understandably, government had other priorities. Programs and funding was scarce. I couldn't find them there, especially in my field. Yes, I had the people, I had the networks. I have those people that I can still call now to see what it is. But up until this day, I have not gotten any correspondence back, even following up to find if there are any opportunities, if there are any fundings for this field. And so in not asking these questions, I went into my field blind. I went into my field without the foresight to see where I would end up or where I wanted to end up. The third thing, the third mistake that I had made is I had not considered other options for myself. I had all my eggs in one basket. I was all in. I didn't think about anything else for as long as I was pursuing this dream from when I was a child. This is all I could think about. I was presented with other fields that I could go into, whether it was maths, business, what have you. I put them all to the side. I did not invest in them. I did not pursue them. And I ended up in a very difficult position. The other thing I did not do was I did not see where else my professions and skills would suit me or would have been a good fit for me. As a biologist, although I did specialize in zoology, there were many fields I could go into. Microbiology, pre-med, pharmacy, chemistry. I had education in all those things, but instead I had chosen to concentrate on zoology and conservation. And although I still do have that knowledge base there, that inkling, that proclivity to the sciences, I had lost out on time. I had lost out on effort. I had not invested in them. And I had lost out there almost entirely. I had boxed myself into my profession. I had allowed my passion to limit my horizons because this is what I wanted to do. This is all I wanted to do. And I wasn't going to budge on any of that. I found myself in a place where many entrepreneurs had found themselves before, whether it's your things didn't work out, your internships didn't work out. Yeah, maybe you did not have any direction. Maybe your field had changed and now you weren't suited to it. Maybe it wasn't everything that you're hoping for. Maybe you were low on capital and you could no longer pursue it. But it was there where I had chosen to go into entrepreneurship because there, at least I was in charge of what it is that I was doing. I could change if I needed to change. I could do whatever it is that was necessary to advance myself. And it was here where I had found 5 things that I believe are vital for every entrepreneur starting out and going forward. These are the 5 things that have helped me greatly. And the first is you need a support structure. Second is you need a scholar's mindset. The third is you need awareness of your market. The fourth is you need versatility. And the fifth is you need an eye for opportunity. Well, the first and arguably the most important is a support structure. For me, it was my faith first and foremost. I am a Christian. I believe in Christ. I'm a Christ follower. And this informed my beliefs and it defined my values. And what that told me is nothing was outside of my reach. Nothing was impossible for where I had found myself at the time. And all it took for me was to pick myself up and keep going forward. And I would find what it is that I needed to find. The next thing was family. And I'm privileged in that I had family that supported me because especially in my field was not one of those popular fields like business, accounting, lawyer, doctor, those fields that my cultural background, if I can say, would have me gravitate towards. But I was lucky and fortunate enough that my family was behind me the whole time. And I'll put in parentheses here, fraternity. Those maybe it's your peers, your colleagues, maybe it's those other people that are around you that recognize the potential in you and support what it is that you are doing. Those people are vital to your life, and it is of utmost important that you keep those people around, even through your difficulties, even through whatever journey you're going through as an entrepreneur, as a young person, as an intern. Those people that will continue to say, no, you've got this, maybe let's try it this way. Those people that will stand with you and behind you. And the third support structure that we need is partners. These are the peers and the colleagues, those people that are walking the same road with you. At the moment, I'm collaborating with two of my close friends in one of the facets of future farms that we are developing that we are developing growing kits. Capital-wise, it has been challenging, but together we've scraped together the expertise, we've scraped together the necessities, the equipment, the materials, so that we can produce these products for the market, that we can produce these products for the people. And without these partners, without these peers and colleagues that are also walking the same road with you, you cannot share your burden, because it's one thing to say to your other people, this is what I'm going through, this is what I need help with, but it is another to interact with and to share with people that are experiencing the same thing that you are. And because of this, we can never underestimate the power of a positive word and environment. My whole entrepreneurship journey began with one statement. I am very proficient in the kitchen. Currently, I cater, I bake, I cook. I'll cook for other people for a price and what have you. But that all began with this one statement that someone had encouraged me and said that this is very good, you should sell it. That one positive word was able to slingshot me and gave me the realization that I have the potential and I have the tools to not only have a business, but a successful one. The second thing you need as an entrepreneur is a scholar's mindset. And the reason I say scholar is it's different from a student. In my opinion, a student, you attend, you get the knowledge and you're gone. But a scholar is someone that immerses themselves in the subject matter. They crave that knowledge. They continue to go after that knowledge. They're always looking at, what can I learn? What can I learn? What can I add to myself? They're a person that says every experience, the learning experience, because they inform you on what works, what doesn't work, and what can be improved upon. These three things, as opposed to this is broken, this can't work, this isn't working, this mindset will help any entrepreneur to see what it is that they can do. It will help them to see opportunity, because if you are looking for these things, this is what you will see. If you're looking for what doesn't work, all you will see is what doesn't work. Third thing we need is an awareness of your market. Currently where I am, my market is, I don't want to say touch and go, but it's sensitive. The market that I am in is sensitive, and I'll share what market that is slowly. The questions I had to ask myself was, where can I fit into the market now or in the future? Part of my education was in cell biology, and that informs me of cellular processes that go on. And one cellular process that I have gravitated towards and are concentrating on is brewing. Brewing is simply the process of fermentation with all the trimmings and accessories. And so in the scope of our current situation, in light of what is going on now, in light of businesses that are struggling, in light of businesses that are closing down, I have asked myself, where can I fit into the market now or later? And I see myself in the future being in the brewing industry. I see myself being able to fill in the gaps that will become available when the dust has settled. I see myself being able to do now what I'm planning for later. So if you see your gap now, or you need to have started your journey already. Right now, in my brewing experience, I am 4 years in. That's 4 years of research and development. That's 4 years of perfecting the craft that I am planning to go into, that when those gaps avail themselves, when the funding avails themselves, when the sponsorship and the opportunity avail themselves, I am ready to take that opportunity. Probably one of the most pressing questions that we also need to ask in our awareness of the market is, are there opportunities for funding? The Bible says that money answers all things. Then whether we like it or not, it is paramount to whatever it is that we are trying to do, that we do obtain that capital, that we do obtain that funding. And I'd like to tip my hat to all of you that are in attendance, because you have shown initiative and you have asked yourself this question, and you will be addressed by speakers that will tell you and inform you about opportunities in the fundings and vehicles and whatever it is that may be that you need to get capital into your business, capital for yourself. And so just you being here, you are already aware of what market that you want to go into and the opportunities that you have. The next question is, what does it take for me to get into or stay in the market? What licenses would you need? What equipment would you need? Let's say right now, COVID is rife. Your market was very face-to-face. Now you need to go online. How do you change your model so that you may stay in the market? How do you make your business remote? How do you adapt to the environment at hand? This is the question that is very pressing for us today, and in most, if not all, businesses. And if you're asking yourself this question, this will aid to your awareness of the market as an entrepreneur. What are the laws and the regulations currently in place? Now, this one is important because this will inform how it is that you proceed. If you have an idea, if you are thinking about getting into it, but you don't yet have the opportunity, the sponsorship, or the funding to go large scale, what can you do with what you have right now, as has been reiterated throughout our speakers and our time here? Right now at Future Farms, we are growing mushrooms, edible mushrooms, king oysters, brown mushrooms, food that can be grown in the dead of winter and in without light. And I've come into see this opportunity because our mushrooms are still growing even in this cold front. That means there's food available when electricity and light and heat were not available. And for my other ventures, I am currently in research and development for cannabis strains, both medically and recreationally. I am informed by, or my research and development is informed by the laws currently in place. I am limited to 8 plants at the moment, from which I can do testing, from which I can separate genetics, from which I can harvest seed, from which I can test my processing methods and what have you before I go full grade. So these are the questions that you need to ask yourself and to answer as an entrepreneur, so that you can better plan out the road ahead, that you can, if you're making a business plan, that you can inform on that business plan that, okay, this is what I'm limited to now, but this is what it's going to take for me to get where I want to be. The fourth thing you need as an entrepreneur is versatility. What can I do with what I have now? As a college student at Res, I didn't have anything tangible. I was just at school, but what I did have was expertise. What I did have was knowledge. What I did have was the ability to consult. So even if you as an intern, a student, as an entrepreneur, you don't have that thing that you're striving for now, but what you do have is knowledge about that thing, or at least I hope you do, because it is your area of interest, the market that you want to get into. You can monetize that to give yourself a leg up. If you have whatever strengths and abilities that you do have that might not be your primary focus, you can develop and grow those to get where you want to be. Currently, I am still learning. I've undergone training as a speaker and a communicator under Dr. Ritchie, who is a world-renowned author and speaker. And so that's what I could do now in this time of COVID. I can expand my skills. I can learn something new. I can develop a skill where everything else is waiting while everything else is still in the pipeline. This is what I can do now. So you need to ask yourself what it is that you can do now. What do you have to work with? As I had said before, you have your expertise to work with, but we cannot disregard those people around you, that support structure that you have developed. Can you partner with one of them? Can you maybe rent equipment to do what it is that you need to do? Can you come to an arrangement or an agreement that this is what I need? This is what I have to work with. Can you meet me halfway? Can you identify what it is that you have to work with that you may be able to uplift yourself and create opportunity for yourself? One thing that goes disregarded, and for me, it's to our disadvantage, is what are your hobbies? You need to ask yourself, what are your hobbies, or what are my hobbies? Because more often than not, your hobbies are what you are proficient in. Your hobbies are what you have a passion in. Your hobbies are those things that you spend time on without stress, those things that you spend time on, those things that you want to spend time on. If you can ask yourselves, what are those things and how can I monetize them and how can I create an opportunity for myself through that, it would be to our advantage. And lastly, what can I learn how to do? As I said before, skills development. What is it that you had maybe learned and left off? For me, I was proficient in Spanish in uni. What I could have done was I could have gotten double majored or gotten 2 degrees. I could have gotten one for biology and one for Spanish, and that would have opened up Spain and Latin America to me, or at least hopefully. So what is it that you can learn? What is it that you might have stopped halfway? What is it that you can improve upon? And this is where versatility is important, because in your answer to all of these questions is an opportunity for income, is an opportunity for employment, there's an opportunity for entrepreneurship. And the fifth and probably the most important thing is we need an eye for opportunity. If, as I said before, if all you're looking at is unemployment, if all that is occupying your mind is difficulty, you will blind yourself to the opportunities that present themselves. As businesses usually do, or as businesses are predicated, you look for a problem that you can solve. And I would encourage us that we look for a problem that we can solve, no matter how small it is. I remember during lockdown, in the township, in order for them to curb people producing their own alcohol, they had taken ginger off the shelf. And while there isn't anything inherently wrong with ginger or what have you, but they had taken it off the shelf. So during that time, I became a ginger wholesaler and distributor, because in my area, it was still very much available. I had solved the problem of people couldn't get a hold of ginger, so I supplied the ginger for them at a profit to myself. A very missed opportunity that we can see, or one that we bypass a lot of the time, is we need to look for what we can make convenient for someone. We need to see how we can make an item or a procedure or a process convenient. We look at some of the largest companies in the world right now. We look at McDonald's, we look at KFC. They are not in business because people don't have food. They're not in business because people can only get food from there. They're not in business because there's food unavailable elsewhere. They're in business because they're convenient. They make a meal convenient for people. It's available quickly and at a lower cost usually. And so that is the power of convenience. That is the opportunity of convenience. So even if you don't see a problem that you can solve, see what you can make easier for someone. And if we look at KFC, because McDonald's is there, they didn't say, oh, somebody's already done it, so we can't do it. No, they got into it as well. So even if you see that opportunity for convenience, to make a convenient process, to make something easier for someone, you need to take it. At Future Farms now, we understand that most people don't have an agricultural background. They don't have an understanding of what it takes to grow food, what it is that they need, timing and what have you. So we are currently developing what is called a quote unquote super soil. And that is a soil that contains the nutrients and the microbiota and everything that a plant would need to go from seedling to fruit. So when you would plant a tomato, for instance, all you have to do is water it. You don't need to add fertilizer. You don't need to do X, Y, and Z. We would supply you with that soil and that information so that growing your own food, so that having your own garden will be convenient for you. It takes the guesswork out of agriculture and what it is that you'd want to do, which is why social and environmental sustainability is our motto. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring this convenience home, take the guesswork out of farming for you, let you be more self-sustaining. And so those are the 5 things that you would need as an entrepreneur, or at least you need to start. Thank you for listening to what I have to say. All the best to you, all the best to the opportunities that you would have. Here are my contact details if anyone is interested in sponsoring, funding, or partnering with me.
Wow, that was so powerful. Thank you so much, Musa. And now I know where to get my ginger. Musa, I'll come, I'll contact you. And also, Musa highlighted on few things, ladies and gentlemen, that you need to be versatile. You need to adapt to any situation you might find yourself in. And also that having a scholar's mindset, and also being aware of your market, but more than anything, having a great supportive structure that is your family, and having a great mentor. And ladies and gentlemen, there's been questions and requests from our Q&A icon there. We will send out the slides from all the presentations that we have thus far. So please don't worry about that. And also we will have a Q&A session with all of you. So the chat icon here is not functional, and also raising your hand, we won't be able to take your hand as you raise it. So please, ladies and gentlemen, put your questions on Q&A. We will have a session to address all of those. So without wasting time, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Molefe Fani. Mr. Molefe Isaac Fani started his career as a chemical engineer at Sasol Chemical Industries, that is Sasol in Sasolburg. His love for business processes and quality assurance systems resulted in him working for Alusef in Richards Bay as process specialist responsible for commissioning of a new aluminum hillside smelter. He later joined Eskom and rose in the ranks in the engineering and operations. When Eskom took a decision to bring back the mothballed power station, Molefe Isaac took the opportunity and became the commercial manager at Grootfontein Power Station. That resulted in him having to look at different processes and business models in the supply chain and contracting to ensure smooth return to service of the station. His fascination with business processes and business enhancement was further sparked by working for CSIR, Gauteng Provincial Treasury, and now the National Treasury as Chief Director in transversal contracting. He has a qualification in engineering and a Master of Commerce in Business Management. He is a PhD student with his PhD thesis currently at examination stage. Thank you, Mr. Fani. Are you there? Mr. Fani?
Yes, I am. Thank you, colleagues. And welcome. It's been 2 hours that we've been at this. Hopefully everybody's still comfortable in the spaces where they are. Without wasting any time, let me just share with you, is my presentation up?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, thank you to the viewers at home. Thank you, and much appreciated that you could join us this morning. We endeavor to make sure that you get empowered with as much information as you possibly can, so that in your quest for becoming real entrepreneurs, that you do the right thing that government is looking for. My agenda is very short. We're going to have a look at entrepreneurship in perspective. We're just going to have a look at a few challenges and opportunities that are presented to entrepreneurs in business today. My presentation is specifically tailor-made for supply chain opportunities within government. We will then conclude. Maybe let me start by just indicating to you that we have a huge spend in government. We have approximately about 600 billion of spend annually. That's a 2020 estimated figure, unaudited figure. So that's quite a huge spend, which we really would want to make sure that our procurement initiatives as government cover as wide array of different types of suppliers that we have, either being Black-owned companies, women-owned companies, youth-owned companies, people with disabilities, corporates, cooperatives, as well as military veterans to some extent. The procurement initiatives have to have an element of creation of employment in them, have to have an opportunity for manufacturing capabilities, and it also has to make sure that it contributes to the growth of the economy of the country. The pandemic has actually indicated to us that we are lagging behind. We need to start moving fast on these. High-level procurement, quickly, this is by no means what procurement process is. It's quite intricate, but I just would like to just summarize it in 7 steps. The organs of states determine what the need is. These needs vary from just a mere toilet paper to a very complicated technical solution for like military department, or those high technically intensive structures such as CETA as well. Once the need has been quantified, we then put that into what we call a procurement plan. Procurement plans are published. If you want to know who procures what, you don't need to go to them and ask them. You just log on to the Treasury website, you will see all the procurement plans. That's a very good starting point to look at whether you are in a position to provide goods and services for government at any given time, and also to look at what would be a niche market for you. So I would encourage that we go into the Treasury website and look at those procurement plans. Out of a procurement plan, we've got what you call procurement strategies. The strategies would be, what is the threshold for what I want to buy? Is it over $1 million? Is it less than $1 million? Do I want to issue quotations, or do I want to use tenders? Are they original equipment manufacturers, or are there any contracts that are running in other organs of state that I can piggyback on? So that contract, that procurement strategy is critically important. We always advise that markets be tested as National Treasury because it creates an opportunity for new entrants into the market space so that they can also take up the procurement opportunities that are presented to them. Bid specs, critically important document that the specification not be tailor-made for one supplier, but for the product or the service that is being envisaged. Once we receive the tenders, we then evaluate them, and then we adjudicate with the award, and then we go for contracting purposes. You would note on this slide that in 2000, the SIPS office at the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition for registration of new businesses recorded in 2000 that 108,000 new businesses were registered with them. Fast forward to 2009, you would realize that that number doubled, where they had about 256 suppliers registered in that financial year. If you were to extrapolate that this for 10 years later, you would probably see quite a huge increase and influx of new businesses that are registered. What I have not gone to look at is how many of them get deregistered, because some of us get excited about new opportunities. We register businesses, but we get deregistered later on when we don't have business opportunities. But this is just an indication of one having to understand that the market gets saturated every time when there are market opportunities that are presented. An entrepreneur has to always make sure that they find a niche market where they can play and make maximum benefits or derive maximum opportunities, and not just rely on what everybody else is doing. Our partnership as government with business is we're now moving away from just procuring goods from you or services from you. We want to have partnership with companies that have sound business models. Sound business models would actually translate in our technical evaluation criteria that we put forward in the bid specifications. When the business model is not sound, it is highly likely that you will not be able to have a sustainable business, and therefore you would jeopardize the relationship you have as an entrepreneur with government based on non-performance. So we would look at your business model. We had that, Ms. Matla indicated to us earlier on that it is critically important to have a business model. There is no need now for you to exist if you do not have a business model, or you do not have a value proposition for anybody for the goods and services that you want to supply them with. But out of your business model, in a medium term, you need to have developed dynamic capabilities that would push you into a long-term strategy where you become, when you become a bigger supplier and we no longer call you an entrepreneur. You don't remain an infant forever. At some point, we have to call you youth, and then you have to qualify as a youth and then become an adult. And then you will qualify for early vaccination like some of us did when we did get the vaccination. So the stages of development requires your business to mature. And your business model is a good starting point. And you do have vehicles such as your enterprise propellers and Umsobomvu and the likes that can assist you with developing these documents. The slides looks very difficult, but it is not. This is the brain of what procurement is in government, in depicted in a picture. What we want to do is we want to stop doing what you call easy procurement. Your easy procurement, that's where you concentrate on volumes. That's where people take opportunities for buying toilet paper, buying milk, buying Polish sanitizers. Those are bulk procurements, and the market is saturated. The price is regulated by the takers. In fact, the prices are driven down instead of up because of the saturation in the market. And when that happens, you find that the entrepreneurs become disgruntled and the deregistration process starts to happen because market opportunities do not exist. What people do not know is that the more difficult the commodity is, the more difficult the product is manufactured, the more difficult the service is provided. That's how you derive a benefit or a value proposition that government requires to move fast with regards to its service delivery. For an example, COVID-19 has indicated to us that when we started off, we said in terms of volume concentration, we've got enough PPE, especially the masks, the gloves, and the boot covers in the country to supply the hospitals, the theaters and stuff. And one day in 2019, COVID happened, and we were forced to move into the difficult terrain of procurement of goods and services. So the global sourcing space started to become our playing field. Goods were not available in the country. They were available overseas. You would see in the slides that are coming how important it is. And some of the speakers that spoke earlier on, Ms. Matla as well as Mr. Mulapo spoke about these things. Collaboration and forging relationships with others is critically important if you were to be a successful entrepreneur. So we are moving into a terrain where relationships are much more important than just you coming into National Treasury or Department of Defense, dropping off a consignment and dropping off a delivery note, and off you go, and you are waiting for your invoice to be paid in 30 days. A relationship is quite more critical, because out of the relationships starts innovative ideas that moves government forward. We do have linkages that we have forged with other departments as National Treasury and all other organs of states. Like for an example, the National Department of Small Businesses, they are created simply for your sake. They are created to provide you with the tools you require as a small business. When you need market opportunities, they should be in the position to do the studies here locally and overseas to create opportunities of where you can tap into. They should be able to provide you with the intelligence of what is it that government procures, and whether we do have a market segmentations that are defined, or we're still defining market segmentations in that space. For an example, we are having a challenge now where we need to start procuring electric vehicles. There's very few of manufacturers of electric vehicles in the country at the moment. The indications right now is that we would move into that space. I have seen in the social medias that there was one supplier that produces electric motorbikes. So those are type of things that you need to go and ask them and say, what is it that you envisage to happen in the coming spaces for us to take up those market opportunities? And then you start creating value propositions that would make government to be operating at an optimal and effective stage. National Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, it's also there created for us or for you as entrepreneurs to make sure that your manufacturing capabilities do take place. For an example, in the country at the moment, vehicles are manufactured by foreign investors. Local cars are not manufactured in the country. We have opportunities in the pharmaceutical space. I'm talking the industries that are untapped, that are more difficult, where we want entrepreneurship to start moving and leaning towards. We have very few HRVs, very few people generate HRVs in the country. If it's not Aspen, Mylan is an overseas company. So more of these manufacturing capabilities are being built by Department of Trade and Industry. You have to go and take up those opportunities from them, knock on their doors and try and figure out what is it that they can assist you with to take up these market opportunities. You have no capital, no problem. You need to be forging relationship and collaboration. There are other linkages that have been spoken to, the umsobovums and the likes that are geared for youth and people that would want to take up these opportunities. I just thought it is important for me to just put this slide to just indicate to you that what are the reasons that makes entrepreneurs to fail as suppliers, not as entrepreneurs, but as suppliers, because we are looking at creation of opportunities for suppliers in government space. So lack of knowledge of government supply chain management legislation, critically important. Quite often we are inundated with suppliers that says, but I didn't know, but you didn't tell me. How was I supposed to know? If you are to play in this market, you gotta have to know the rules. Unfortunately, the rules are legislated in this country to make sure that the relationship between government and the entrepreneurs is regulated and it is sound in nature, and there's a win-win situation out of it. We are experiencing poor services, inferior quality. I cannot stress this much more than what the words are saying. You award a tender to somebody and somebody pick up and leave tomorrow, and you've got a building that's standing empty because the supplier just could not produce the quality work because they have overstated their capabilities in the tender documents, and unfortunately our intelligence didn't pick that up. So it is important that you need to check your value propositions to make sure that you are qualified for the work that you're intending to provide to National Treasury or to any organ of states for that matter. Lack of funds. Through the process of building something, funds run out, and now we are inundated with requests to get more funding, to get advance payment. We don't do that. History has proven to us that upfront payment doesn't help government, because you give an upfront payment and the supplier packs the bags and go. Now you have to go through litigation processes, which may drain the bag, the purse of government even further because of trying to recover or to salvage the situation. So inadequate infrastructure, technology utilization, critically important. We have to move with the times when it comes to technology and investing in infrastructure. Opportunities for partnership, opportunities for leveraging on those other suppliers that have these infrastructures is critically important, and it's encouraged. Cultural barriers, historical episodes. I'm a woman, I need the business. That's not how we do business. The playing field is leveled, and everybody needs to be competitive in taking up opportunities. We cannot award a tender and just by virtue of you being a woman or by virtue of you being youth, you then want us to be lenient on our performance management processes. We apply the same rules for everybody. However, preference may be given at the tender and the award stage, but when it comes to performance, we are not applying any preference. Everybody has to perform according to what they've been contracted to deliver. Unstable macroeconomic environments, COVID plays a huge role now. A lot of businesses are going under. We have to make sure that we need to do that SWOT analysis properly to make sure that in our quest for delivering goods and services to government, we are okay. Lack of collaborations, we spoke about that, networking. And when you do respond to tenders, there is nothing that stops you from going for joint ventures. Find out who else in the market is doing it and what capabilities do they have. Go into a joint venture and make sure that you at least secure a piece of cake with built capabilities that makes you to go and have a competitive strategy and sustainable strategy moving forward. Incompetent human resources, pure management. We also are a contributor as government. We don't pay on time. We are fighting as much as we possibly can to make sure that entrepreneurs get paid. If you do not have a capital injection, or if you do not have a cash flow that runs your operations, you are bound to die, or you are bound to fail, or it renders you into non-performance. And we're trying as much as we possibly can to expedite payments as soon as as fast as we can. Lack of contract management knowledge. You can't run business in the boot anymore once you get the deal. You can't run it in such a way that you do not have sound contract management principles. When we request information, and you have to go look for it, you don't know where it is, already it renders you into an uncomfortable position, and it renders us even equally more into uncomfortable position as government. We do not want you to fail. One of the biggest challenges is celebrations happens too early at the expense of the growth of the company. You know what I'm talking about. That BMW, it's an early celebration. You shouldn't do it. And more especially when you are running a tight project that requires a huge cash flow into the business. Later on, you would probably be in a position to celebrate when you have bigger things and bigger bags. So let us avoid that. I have partially spoken to this, but I just want you to just look at the numbers as they flow in sequence. But I will concentrate mainly, your value proposition is important to us. What is it that you can do for us? And when we have identified the needs as a government and we issue you with a tender, or we issue you with a quotation, we want you to provide to us what you're proposing to us as a value to us. Like I've said earlier on, the easy stuff, value is already embedded in the goods that you are providing to us, no problem. But when it comes to services, then the definition of that value becomes to be explicit, because that is what is going to differentiate you. That is what's going to differentiate Lishono Nyembe from Grace Mukolopo in terms of their service offerings. And we need to continue doing like that. If I were to make an example, we are having a number of paupers funerals that happens for people that die in hospitals, that die in prisons, whose relatives we cannot account for or we cannot trace. And when we want undertakers to come and do business with us, you would find that somebody wants to come and do the pauper's funeral for us, but the person doesn't have a car, for starters. And secondly, the quality of work that they put into their service requires them to build more innovation in the process for them to secure more tenders. We cannot have situations where we just contract people for services, but there is no quality built into it. That challenges the likes of Botabiso Makwanyani to make sure that his products, the offering of the casket, the offering of the service, and the whole tutti needs to be tailor-made so that the value proposition is okay. Key activities and your key resources and who you partner with will determine your cost structure. If you are not partnering with the right people and you do not perform the key activities and the resources are not optimally used, your costing structure is going to be high and it is not going to provide a competitive position for you when you tender. You would always find entrepreneurs saying, yeah, but I always tender, I don't get the business. Your costing structure is a problem. Even before we go far, when we look at what your value proposition is. When it comes to revenue structure, that's where you start looking at how can I maximize my revenue? Can I streamline my channels? Who are my channel partners? How do I service my customers? Because if I have contracted with you that you will deliver to me 12 cups of coffee every day, but you make sure that my coffee is too hot, that I actually drink 10 a day, you are saving on 2 cups, but your invoicing is for services. It is not for the quantity. So you gotta have to make sure that you optimize your value proposition at all times. Innovators survive in this market. And those who don't innovate will not make it. Earlier on, where Ms. Matla, in the agricultural space, we have research institutions that require animal feed. They require manure. Those are the things that you have to start thinking about and you need to start venturing into. When you go to the hospitals, there's hospital beds, there's mattress, there's gowns, there's linen. You combine the health sector with the textile sector and you start producing these things. Linen is available. You just need to find seamstress and a couple of machines and sew these things and supply them to government. We have left these markets untapped. because we are looking at volumes instead of service offerings that are of a sustainable nature. I've spoken about electric vehicles. We need to start thinking along those lines. Those opportunities are coming, and the noise is starting to come already now. We've spoken about pharmaceuticals. There were vaccines that were developed before. No one did anything. Now we've got the huge one that has hit us now. In the past, we have measles, we had hepatitis vaccines, and people never took the opportunities. Now we've got this huge one. There will be other vaccines required. Stop tapping into that pharmaceutical market and try and see what is it that you can do. You may not manufacture now, but you need to start building those capabilities for when the manufacturing opportunities do come. Tap on the door that Department of Trade and Trade Industry and Competition are making available for us, for you to provide. Like I have said, the pendulum is shifting. We're no longer looking for volumes for anything. We are looking for solutions. Government requires solutions to move. We don't want bricks anymore to build. We want alternative building material. What is it that you have thought about now as an alternative to building? We want to build cheap and not necessarily cheap, affordable, but durable houses for everybody. The purse is running dry, but innovation in that space needs to start flowing because it has to happen. This is the time. Genau. Where do you get these opportunities? You can get them from the e-tender portal and the government tender bulletin. We publish all our tenders without fail. Anyone that does not do that renders themselves into irregularity in government. So we do publish on e-tender portal and government tender bulletins. Some departments choose to also publish on their departmental website. You would only know if you have already defined your value proposition. If you are in water and sanitation, you would know that the website of water and sanitation department, as well as a housing department, is important for you to tap for opportunities. If you are into learning devices and provision of learning material, you would know that correctional services has inmates that learn. You would know that Department of Basic Education has got students or scholars that require these. You will knock at the right door. You would not go to military services because they don't operate in the space where you're operating. But if you are still operating on the volumes, you will look at all the websites, and that will make you lose opportunities. Quotation systems do count, unsolicited tenders. We don't encourage unsolicited tenders in government. I have listed it there because any innovator would know that they have to make their innovation known to somebody. And normally they would issue to us unsolicited tenders, and we would look at what you provide to us and would say, this solution sounds interesting, but we would then issue it to the tender if it is the need that governments have. We do not give it to you, but you would then play in the market with everybody else. Unfortunately, if you're the only player, you would then be at the favorable situation. Collaboration, subcontracting, and the joint ventures, quite critical. Thank you, guys. This is my story from National Treasury with regards to market opportunities through supply chain initiatives, and I've tried to squeeze it in the minutes that I had. You are encouraged to attend to the to go to the provincial offices as well, to their treasury offices. They also run workshops and opportunities for tenders that are localized in the provinces. Please do take those opportunities and knock on the small business development door. They exist to assist you. Knock at the Department of Trade and Industry. They exist to make sure that manufacturing capabilities are enhanced in the country. Knock on National Treasury. We have transversal contracts for Africa. We spend 65 estimated 65 billion over a period of 3 years and a few up to 5 years on just making sure we create a base for sustainable supply in South Africa for organs of state. Immense opportunities. Like I've said, your value proposition will set you apart from the rest of everybody that is in the mess of volume supply. And that is not the future of government moving forward. Thank you very much, convener. That is my story. And I hope I have made the picture quite clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Molefi, Mr. Fani. That was very, very good. Things seem to just tweak into one another. The one answers the other one, and the entrepreneurs, and from where you are standing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your and enjoyed your presentation. We are now going to go into a 5-minute break for those who need coffee and something to grab quickly to eat. 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes, we'll ask Mr. Pora to give us just 1 or 2 thoughts, as he has indicated that National Treasury has answered almost most of his burning issues that he was going to raise with us. Nolu is just out of connectivity for a while. We hope she will be back after the 5 minutes. So see you guys at after 5 minutes. And Sibusiso, please play us a song or 2 there while we make the tea and the coffee. See you in 5 minutes.
Right.
Okay. Sure, please. Either we take him before break. Liman means is move. Say so move. And so. I know Nolu will be back soon. She said she's got connectivity. So I'm just waiting for her to give us the go ahead. But in the meantime, I think Mr. Pura from infrastructure? Oh, Mr. Pura, there
Yeah,
you
I'm
go,
here.
the voice of the youth. Okay.
My assistant, I'm back. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I'm going to be introducing Mr. Bajani Lucas Pura, who's a supply chain specialist, and he will take us through the supply chain procedures. So I'm just going to give you a brief background about him. Bajani Lucas Pura is an economic historian, having read for a joint honors degree in economic history at the University of the Witwatersrand. That took him to Webster University, which is in Vienna, Australia, for a degree endorsement of economic journalism in a student exchange program of the same degree. He further read and graduated for a Master of Management in Public and Development Management in 2012 at the Wits School of Governance. His areas of interest include governance, project management, and monitoring and evaluation. Keen in the academy, he presented a paper on governance and development in the first conference on development finance hosted by the University of Limpopo in 2014. He served the public in the Department of Public Transport, Roads and Works as a convener for bid evaluation teams and quality controller in the Supply Chain Management Chief Directorate. He's currently a researcher and knowledge management officer in the Department of Infrastructure Development in Gauteng Province. Without wasting more time, over to you, Mr. Pora. Mr. Pora, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Thank you so much.
Okay, may I request that my presentation be flighted?
All right. Mr. Pora, I don't know why is it taking time, but I'm definitely sure it will be up on our screen now.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be patient. You know, man, technology. I was also cut off for like 10 minutes. So please accept our apology. Let me check with our admin.
Nolo, Program Director.
Yes.
Can I flight the presentation? I hope you'll all see it.
It just came now and it went off.
Yeah,
I don't know
it
what
was me
happened.
showing it. Can I show it?
Yes, please. We are waiting.
All right. Can you all see it?
Yes.
All right. Tate Pura, you'll take me to wherever you want to go, ne?
Okay, sir, thank you very much. My presentation is not going to be long. For most of the issues that I've covered or intended to present on have been mostly covered by the previous speaker, Mr. Molefe. And it should not be surprising because it is indeed from the Office of the Chief Procurement of the state. So my presentation should correctly be then viewed as a sort of a case study for government procurement processes and requirements. And I'm doing it under the thinking that government is partnering with business. Entrepreneurship, not to be a painter of a gloomy socioeconomic outlook, is now more than ever extremely important. And in fact, in the discourse of economic history, entrepreneurship is correctly referred to as the spirit of entrepreneurship. And it tallies very well with your theme that says maximizing own potential and having the need to understand government procurement processes and procedures. Because it is as if you have taken it upon yourself through your spirit to maximize your potential and do carve a way of positive outcomes through engaging in entrepreneurship and doing business. Because most of the stuff has been covered, as I say, I would like to suggest that we move to the last two items, which is tender process and then the challenges. Thank you, this one, which talks to a summary of a tender process. By the way, the Gauteng Department of Infrastructure Development is an implementing agent that implements projects on behalf of client departments in the Gauteng province, from the Department of Health, the Department of Education, so on and so forth, which means we conceptualize, we design, we construct, we rehabilitate, we refurbish infrastructure, such as clinics, schools, community healthcare centers, libraries, so on and so forth. But just to lay another perspective on the tendering process for an entrepreneur in order for them to fully grasp how the state conducts its business the way it does, is that the procurement of goods and services by organs of state is regulated by a section in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which is section 217, that says that whenever an organ of state procures for goods and services, it should do so in accordance with a system that is fair, that is equitable, that is transparent, that is cost-effective, and that is competitive. So even if you look at this slide that is projected now, and you take heed of the previous presentation, you notice that this is exactly what the previous speaker, Mr. Molefe, was saying. And therefore, this is just also how we implement it. After a need has been determined, for instance, if the Department of Education has determined that there's a need for a school to be constructed in a particular area, they would approach us as the implementing agent, and through procurement plans, we start the process of implementing for the delivery of such a school. A bid specification committee would be assembled, wherein they will sit and determine, fully articulate that need and specify it. It should be specific. It should clearly be known the quantity of bricks that are going to be needed in order for us to deliver the school, how many classrooms, how many blocks. And because now we even have innovative considerations, what side of the sun should the school be facing it in order for us to harness the power of the sun for our green technology considerations in terms of the solars that we can put on top of the roofs of the school for us to be able to go green. But anyway, this is just a summary of a tender process. After the bid specification committee has set, we draft an advert which talks to the transparency and the fairness part of the process of a supply chain management, where we clearly invite and call on bids from bidders to come and respond via the bid document or procure for the bid document. And the advert will also clearly stipulate the evaluation criteria that will be used in order for us to evaluate the competency of the bidders. After that, a bid will close and we'll have another committee that is assembled, which the members of are normally different from the first committee in order for us to avoid issues of conflicts of interest, where the evaluation process will take place after having been declared openly so on how the bids are going to be evaluated. From this committee, another committee which is also separate from this one is a bid adjudication committee that adjudicates on the findings and recommendations of the bid evaluation committee, to be saying after all the due processes have been considered as per the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act, as per the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act, as per the Construction Industry Development Board Act, this is the bidder that we believe is suitable and we recommend can be able to deliver the project. After this process, then there'll be a process of contract signature where we call in the bidder to come and sign the contract. So like I've said, the presentation from National Treasury has given a higher level of procurement processes and the needs, and also some of the nuances that happens within the procurement space and the supply chain management space. And this one can therefore be seen as a sort of a case study to see how the implementation process happens. May we move to the next slide? Now, what are the common challenges that we encounter in implementing projects on behalf of client departments? And this slide also, of course, the intention is to say to prospective entrepreneurs in the market, to be saying, what is it that you need to consider to be able for you to get or be awarded that bid? To use a different language in a different discourse, we'll be saying your value proposition for us in our need to address our need. So these few challenges that I have in this slide can lead to one or two things. Disqualification, which is at the stage of evaluation, or contract termination when it is at the stage of contract implementation or bid delivery. The first one I will speak to is compulsory briefing sessions. It is important that when a bid has been advertised and it has clearly been stipulated that it is compulsory for entrepreneurs or bidders to attend a briefing, that they do so. For if you have not attended a briefing, there will be no need for you to purchase a tender document and attempt to bid. You shall be disqualified at the stage of verifying whether or not you have attended that briefing. Of course, the main reason for that is that if there are nuances and other questions that must be cleared at a compulsory site briefing, then we are able to be privy to that information. And that speaks to us in terms of the equitable dissemination of information and knowledge imperatives to prospective bidders. The second one is the original valid tax clearance certificate. We do verify tax clearance certificate submissions through the South African Receiver of Revenue. And it is important, of course, that business people or companies be registered for tax and they pay tax. There's an adage that says that one of the sentences that we have in life itself, is death, and it is taxes. For if the state does not collect revenue through taxes that companies and persons contribute to, then what would happen to our monetary economics? We shall be dull in that instance. There's also an issue of the CIPC registration, which of course the National Treasury has spoken to. It is about a legal formulated business entity that is prepared to do business with the state. There's no way in which the state can do business with individuals spontaneously without being well organized into a legal entity that can do business for all other different and various reasons. For instance, in the event of a dispute, who do we say we are dealing with? In the event of the need to sign a contract, who do we really deal with who is not registered by the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission? So it is important because these things are not just academic. We don't just mention them because we feel the need to mention them. We mention them because they're imperative. They're essential for any prospective business people to really possess. And then there's another issue of a valid relevant CIDB registration. Yeah, the construction industry is regulated by the Construction Industry Development Board through an Act of Parliament, I think Act number 3 of 2000, wherein the Construction Industry Development Board does, among other things, 2 things. It keeps a register of projects and a register of contractors and grades them according to various specified works, classes and categories of works, and also their financial capability. But it also creates norms and standards for delivery and uniformity of construction projects. So you need to, therefore, if you're interested in the construction industry, be able to have to register with the CIDB, so that then you are part of and subjected to norms and standards that the CIDB prescribes for the industry. Of course, a bigger part of the bid documents that are in construction have guidelines that emanate from the Construction Industry Development Board. There's also an internal sort of a challenge with the limited number of electro and mechanical suppliers. We may or may not be aware that even worldwide, the fraternity of science is in short supply. So sometimes engineers like electrical engineers and mechanical engineers come very short. Also at the national level, of course, we are trying to address this issue through a curriculum where the TVETs have been pepped up, and the Faculty of Science is also encouraged to encourage students to take on this field. There's an issue of non-market related pricing that leads to disqualification of bids. And what this means is that you'd find that suppliers quote exorbitantly high prices on bids or unrealistically low prices. So it can fall in either way. You need to be within the average in terms of pricing. And what this economics simply means is that we would have our own professionals inside who would go and estimate on the bills of quantities for the prices for the delivery of a project. And we know out of our price estimate how much it would cost us as government to procure a school and deliver it in its specified form. If you fall, there's a guideline, but not necessarily a rule, but a guideline from the Construction Industry Development Board, I think practice note number 5, on evaluating quality in bid submissions. That says that 15% above an estimate can be considered expensive, and 15% below may also be considered difficultly low to capacitate a contractor to be able to deliver a project without hassles. So the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act also has itself an evaluation criteria in terms of price calculation for the tendered prices that are submitted, and a formula on how those prices must be calculated, and the eventual points that are attached to the prices. So a thorough process of price assessments from an economics perspective normally takes place in order for us to determine, over and above the formula itself, whether indeed the proposed price for the delivery of a bid is practical. There's an issue of guarantees. Of course, the previous speaker has mentioned that also as government, we might have our own challenges of not being able to pay within 30 days as per the proclamation, and the need for us to do that. And in order for entrepreneurs to have a cushion that they can fall to, guarantees are important, particularly in high-level bids where millions and millions of rands are being utilized to deliver projects. It becomes imperative, as much as it does for professional registration of a professional team within a business, to also have financial guarantees, whereby in the event that you can run short of cash while you are delivering a project, then you can turn back to a financial guarantor. Also, where I don't want to say we pay on time as we promised to. Should it happen that we also have hassles in paying up as per payment certificates or any challenges, then a contractor is able to back up with a financial guarantee. There's an issue of limited performance, which also the National Treasury has spoken to, where a bidder is awarded a contract, but they're not able to perform accordingly to the needs of that contract for any reason or the other. It could be a conspicuous consumption, meaning that while we've been paid on first or two payment certificates, instead of reinvesting back into the business, we went and purchased a luxurious car somewhere, or purchased a flat or something. So for me, this also speaks to the issue of culture, that because as I hear all the previous presentations, the only thing I could come up with over and above the scientific finding that as humans, we only utilize up to 20% of our brains. And when we say 20, we are talking about the genius. We're not talking about the average. The average is utilizing around 8 or so. That there's a continuous need for engagement and information dissemination from the various sectors that are involved in society. So collaboration cannot be overemphasized. In order for us to establish the need for continuous empowerment, this reminds me of also an economics professor at the Chicago Law School, and also a Nobel Memorial Prize winner, Professor Ronald Coase, who is a British economics professor, who spoke about, there's something called the Coase theorem. It speaks about the importance of information in markets. So in order for entrepreneurs to understand how the state performs and does business with the private sector and the other way around, or with any other partners whatsoever, it is important to continuously keep on sharing information and disseminating knowledge, so that you don't just get surprised that a project has been delivered and it has been delivered in my neighborhood, but you do not know that there's an existence of an e-government tender bulletin where this tender was advertised. There's a government formal procurement process that unfolds, which guides the operations or the implementations of these projects. So that need for continuous dissemination of information, which is also the pivot, I think, the essence of the National School of Government having organized this webinar, cannot also be overemphasized. It is a definite imperative. There's also another writer in the School of Development Economics, Hernando de Soto, who speaks about the mystery of capital. It might be mysterious if people are not aware in terms of being empowered with knowledge to follow developments that happen around them. The need for innovation, as the speaker from National Treasury has already alluded to, is continuous. The world at large now, using the same example of the electric cars, is moving towards greening as a result of the carbon emissions that affect the layer in the atmosphere. Therefore, there's a need for us as humans to be able to care for our own environment through the language of sustainable development, and use our resources in such a way that the future generations are also going to be finding that we have not necessarily polluted the earth and left it so damp and so unworkable and so unusable for them to make ends meet, or for them to engage in economics, engage in politics, engage in life in general. So it is important, therefore, to not only perform on bids, but also perform in terms of empowerment and knowledge imperatives for entrepreneurs. In conclusion, I would like to say that these times are very tumultuous, and the economy is not necessarily looking good, since as a country we have surpassed even the structural unemployment, which is 25% unemployment in any given economy. So much that entrepreneurship becomes quite pivotal for the success of new entrants into the market. It shouldn't just only be the job market. Not that I'm against the slogan that this year of Charlotte Makeke is for growing youth employment for an inclusive and transformed society. But I would like to emphasize that it is important to pay more attention to the inclusivity in terms of the spirit of entrepreneurship and transformation, to be saying that perhaps the culture of knocking on doors looking for jobs is not necessarily going to be the best route for us to follow, whether or not we like it. But looking internally into us as humans, to harness our own potential, to unlock within us as entrepreneurs, that spirit of the need to be innovative and also maximize your talent, which is a God-given ability to make ends meet, is so important. Thank you very much.
Program director.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Pora. Yes, Mr. Mekwa.
Ne ke kopa ntate Phora a kgotle mo video mo batho ba kgone ho mmona hore ba ska re ne ba bolela le sepoko.
Mr. Pora, please let us see you.
I had attempted to do that, but this technology, I don't know what happened. Where do I press? Is it on stop video or what? Because I thought when I pressed start video, I was going to appear.
Yeah, on the stop video. It will tend to start.
Where start video?
Yeah. I did that.
Yeah,
and
press just there. Oh,
is there a red arrow going across?
There is a red arrow going across.
Press
and all
on
this
it.
time,
press on it.
As I was presenting, I
So
had
it's
it.
removed. That's it.
It is removed and
okay.
It's now stop video, but I still can't even see myself on the little left corner. So I
Maybe
don't know whether
Spusiso need to disable it
camera-
for him.
Yeah, if you can zoom me, I have no issue.
Okay, no, that's fine. Continue, program director.
We so want to see Mr. Pora, hey? We want to see him. Thank you so much, Mr. Pora, and also for summarizing the tender processes. Because I think more than anything, when it comes to supply chain, we must also take it back home. When you do groceries, so what do you really need, you know? And also the compulsory briefing sessions for me, those are very important because you don't want to end up taking part in something that you don't have skills for. So thank you so much, Mr. Pora. I'm gonna continue with the program with the question and answers. And I'm gonna ask our panel members to assist us with the session. Thank you. Itumeleng, are you fine? Itumeleng?
Yes, I am.
Welcome back, and I think your volume is a bit low.
Is it a bit low?
Very low.
Let me just try to see what the problem might be.
Are you able to hear Itumeleng, or is it a challenge from my side?
No, I have no volume on the side either.
Okay. Or maybe Musa, maybe continue from your side when we are still waiting for Itumeleng to sort out her sound.
No
so
problem.
that we don't waste more time and we don't lose our participants. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just checking if you can now hear me. Am I audible?
No, we still cannot hear you, Dumeling.
Mosa, I think you should continue while we're still waiting for Itumeleng to sort out her technical challenges. Are you able to give us some feedback regarding the question and answers?
I'm looking through. It's under the Q&A tab, correct?
Or maybe Jay, excuse me, maybe Jay and Emmanuel, please lead us into the session so that we don't
Yes,
get confused.
yeah, streamline and field the questions.
Yes, maybe the questions that are directly related to Musa.
Hi, colleagues. We've had very positive feedback from many of the delegates, and it's actually it's relevant that the information shared has got so much of merit and value. I think most of the questions were leveled at Ntumeleng, but maybe you could provide some guidance, because this seems to be across the entire spectrum of questions. Many of the youth want to know what are some of the steps that you could follow in providing good marketing and sourcing funding for their businesses. That seems to be the relevant thing that comes across in most of the questions. So maybe you could give them some guidance on that. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. As it pertains to marketing, the best tool that I've used, or the most cost-effective tool if you're still looking for funding, is many of us still are, is word of mouth. You have your proof of concept, you have your product. And for me, I've had to take that economic hits. And for the first round, for the first few iterations of the product that I did have, I had to give out samples. I had to say, okay, are you satisfied with my product? If so, don't hesitate to let everybody else know. So it's the first step would be putting yourself out there, because you're gonna have some yeses and you're gonna have some nos, but without taking that initial step of putting your product out there, marketing is going to be very difficult for you. Like even now, most of my business or most of my marketing comes from word of mouth. Some people higher up that I have given a satisfactory product to, they recommend it to other people, and then those other people get in touch with me, and so on. As for funding, I am in the same place that we are. I'm still looking for funding. I am. It's one of the reasons I'm attending this conference as well. This webinar is to find out how I can better fund myself. But when I do get to that stage where I have acquired the funding, where I have gone through the steps and the necessary hoops to jump through, I would happily share that.
Thank you, Musa. Thank you. Jay, do we still have more questions directed to Musa, or we can continue with Itumeleng?
Thank you. No, I think he's provided good feedback on that. I think we should look at Ntumeleng for those questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay. Can you now hear me? Am I audible now?
Very
Yes.
audible. Thank
Yes,
you.
you are.
Oh, wonderful. I'm happy to hear that, because I actually do want to answer the questions that came through. One question was, how was I able to source financing, and how can others also, source out funding for their businesses? Let me first start with my journey and how like I said, but there are ways to maneuver around the funding issue. And when I started, I personally financed the business. This came when I refer to personally financing the business. I'm referring to using my own financial resources, family investing into the business, which played quite a huge role, because when your idea is still it's in infancy, it's not how can I say it? It's not impossible to get funding, but it's not particularly easy for you to get funding. And that's where your value proposition has to be quite strong. Your business plan has to really be quite airtight. And that's simply not always the case for entrepreneurs who are still starting, because you might be missing some or other, important aspects to your business. So I would actually advise the listeners to, when you start, use what you have. Your resources are very important. If you have something saved up in terms of finances, see how that could help you to jumpstart your operations. You don't need to start big. Start small or with what your resources allow you with. Speak to family members, speak to friends, speak to people in the industry. There are people, we call them angel investors, people who have the financial resources or financial capacity looking to fund, but they don't necessarily know where to do that. So when you are able to come into contact with such people, that's where then the opportunity for funding your business comes into play. When we started, I remember we approached our bank. We didn't have the financial standing because revenue was not at the threshold that they required. So we also inquired if Nedbank, actually we bank with Nedbank, so we actually inquired with them if they have any sort of funding that we could also maybe then tap into or apply for that could assist us. And I know other banks also have this. It's called business development. So just inquire, especially with private companies, with banks, if they have a business development section. Those are the departments that are directly looking for people starting ideas or already operating and seeing how they can fund them. But the nice thing with that is that they also provide capacity support or business support going beyond them just giving you money, which is very important when you're starting. And yes, so that's one other option. And the other one, depending on the different stages and levels that your business is currently at, whether it is an idea or whether you are already operating, or maybe you are now at a growth level or at a very matured level, you have to engage funding institutions that are looking to fund the stage that your business is in, and also the industry that you are operating in. Let me just break it down a bit. For a small starting out cannot necessarily approach institutions such as IDC. Why? Because IDC is looking for people who are looking to industrialize, people who are looking to manufacture, agro-process certain products and distribute them at a commercial level. So what you will be looking for is maybe approaching institutions such as the NYDA, the CIFA, but also considering which sector are you at that level? Are you extracting raw material? And this applies to mining and also farming, and this is what we call the primary sector. Then there's the secondary sector, where funders are looking for people who are specifically going to be manufacturing or agro-processing products. And then there are institutions looking to fund industrial companies, and that's what we call your tertiary sector. So know exactly where your business is and who you can approach to help fund you. And another thing with funding, remember I said not all opportunities are suitable for you. Know what the funders are looking for in terms of their criteria. If you see that you do not meet their criteria, do not waste your time and efforts making that application, because it will not be successful. Rather look for opportunities that your company is eligible for, and that you have all the requirements that they require. And then once you have your foot in the door, listen, you have now a better standing of actually acquiring funding. Again, we are at different stages. If you have an idea and you don't really know how you can bring it to life and place it at a level where it can be attractable to funders, go to institutions such as CEDA. CEDA does not provide you with money, but it does so through its sister institutions, which is CIFA, right? But with CEDA, you can actually get assistance, both with CEDA and the NYDA. You can get assistance with, let's say, for example, refining your idea with business advisors that are there, and they can also link you with service providers that deal with the need that you have. So you can get a business plan, a professional business plan from them. You can get advice in terms of strategizing on a way forward for your business and its growth. I love the fact that they also provide funding according to the level and stage that your business is operating in. So do your research, approach those institutions, and I tell you, at the moment, we have already submitted with the NYDA, and we are awaiting a response with regards to that. And in the process, we are also have been shortlisted by DESTIA. Remember, I said we are moving into getting our business to be formalized in terms of agro-processing at an industrial level. So we are not too quick to send in our applications for funding. We are ensuring that our preparations for the application is in set. Right? Get your quotations, know exactly how much you need. Your numbers are important. Know your numbers and know exactly what it is that you need. If needs be, let CEDA or the NYDA help you to set up a professional business plan that will be solid enough to get you whatever funding that you need. I wrote a few here. Okay, let me just check. So inquire from relevant institutions that your business is operating in. That's how you find opportunities, especially for funding. That's how we found opportunities for us. If you are in the agricultural sector, there is currently a program that the Department of Agriculture is rolling out, which is looking to assist and fund youth in agriculture. So that is one initiative amongst many that is available in the Department of Agriculture. There are applications that you can apply for, like CASP, that help you with increasing your production capacity. And then there's Lima Litsima that is also available. Applications are going to open for those in the coming months. And another one is, let me see. Okay, so yes, I want to give you everything here. And DESTIA is currently, but the applications, I think they've closed now. They've been running a lot of funding initiatives on their part to ensure that economic involvement and participation in townships actually happens, and that we are able to enter into mainstream economy. So there's township development, where they are providing funding for butcheries. If you want to open a butchery, spaza shops, if that is your liking there. And currently, opportunities for women, the National Empowerment Fund is currently running a funding application process that is open for women, looking to empower women in different sectors. So please do check on their website and ensure that if you do qualify, you engage with those people and apply. And it is not specific also as to what stage you need to be in, right? What else? Yes, and another one, be creative about funding. It's not only government that funds, it's not only banks that funds. Funding is vast. Find out on funding strategies. Like I said, you could get funded by the bank, you could get funded by government, you could get funded by angel investors. And this can be a range from someone that you know, or maybe in a pool of network where there's a pool of investors. I'm more than willing to share this information. It's just that I don't have it with me at the moment. Yes, but I will share it to maybe Jacqueline if possible. And also,
that would be great, Itumele. That would be great to share the information with us so that we can circulate it to our participants. So maybe if you can compile it in a slide form and send it to us, or maybe attach it to your presentation, then we can forward it to the participants who have been requesting for this information.
Definitely, I will do so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Itumele. And I'm gonna give Mr. Pura and Mr. Fani just some 1 minute each, just to give us some closing comments, because thus far we don't have any other questions for them. I think their presentations were straight to the point. Can we just have 1 minute closing comments, and we will be able to close the session. Mr. Fani, if he's still here. Please unmute, Mr. Fani. Please unmute.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I think we have received and imparted quite a lot of information to the participants in this process, and we appreciate the information that was imparted that empowers aspiring entrepreneurs to access funds, to access markets, to really start looking at their product offerings. The landscape has shifted with regards to what is it that I provide. We have been speaking about the value proposition quite a number of times, and we are more likely to continue talking along those lines for a number of years to come, because the supply market has shifted. The power is now on the supplier to make sure that they provide a service that is according to the agreed contracts or service level agreements, and that their goods comply to the specifications. All that we have to do as government is to make sure that we continue to tap into that space and procure as much as we can and to pay on time. But we also need to start, as we have started today, to sensitize that our buildings no longer require lights that you switch on. They require lights where you walk in and the lights go on. They require, our doors no longer require us to lock. They require us to use our fingers. So the technology that has to evolve to help government to worry about other things is becoming more and more demanding on the side of the supplier. Remember, whatever you provide to us and whatever you give as a value proposition to us, we will buy, provided it solves a problem, provided that government has the money available to ensure that service delivery happens. I cannot stress the importance of collaborations and knocking on doors of others to take them by hand and say, come, let's go together. I have made an example that we need to go with it. Knock on our doors, we are available. Go on that e-tender and grab those opportunities. They are available. Thank you very much. And Nolu is looking at me like you need to go now. Thank you, Noli, and thank you to my other colleagues. Really enjoyed the presentations.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fanny. Mr. Pora, just a quick one.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, now I see myself.
Oh, finally we can see you.
Yes. In closing, entrepreneurship is a talent, and you should be blessed if you have the spirit of entrepreneurship. Because when you do something that is within you, you do it with relative ease. It is a form of expression for yourself, and it is also a means of survival. So when you have identified the niche, which is something that is within you that you can do, that speaks about your character, given your interest in life. For instance, if you're interested in building things and you see that the construction industry is your leeway, your way in which you can express yourself, kindly pay attention to the requirements in order for you to be established as a different, sometimes in the marketing language, they call it a brand. So if you want to view yourself in the language of brands, it is important for you to find out what the trends and patterns of branding are. What is it that you need to do in order for you to start thinking the way branders think, living the way branders live? And it is important also that big things start small. You must understand it. There's always a philosophy that underlines success. It starts with patience, is virtue. Big things start small. Don't indulge in conspicuous consumption, because conspicuous consumption is not necessarily your expression of who you are. It's historical materialism. It's a material that has to do with perhaps a reflection of your social status. But an innate gift of what you can do for yourself and for others, whether you are solving problems by being innovative, whether you are being social by getting into collaborations, whether you are part of communities of your place in the society of South Africa as a citizen, that is very important to you to be able to know yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pora. Ladies and gentlemen, my job is done here, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our attendees, our speakers, my fellow NSG colleagues, and I'm gonna give this moment to Ms. Nombulelo Mtombeni to give us a vote of thanks. And also let us look for, be on the watch out for our next webinar, which is in August, and we'll be focusing on the young women who are groundbreakers, who are innovative in the entrepreneurial space. So we'll keep you posted in terms of the developments that we'll be having of the webinar. Over to you, Ms. Mtombeni.
All right. Can you hear me, Nolo?
I can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. No, thank you very much. Colleagues, this has been such an informative session. It has been exciting. And I think as a result of that, we even lost track of time. We got so engrossed in our speakers that even the program director was just overwhelmed with this excitement. Now, you know, Mr. Pora, when you speak about the brand, when this notion of influencer started, I woke up one morning and I said to myself, you know what? I want to be an influencer. And, you know, now that you are explaining about what goes into a brand and how do you position your mindset and your product in order to operate in that space in terms of marketing your product. I'm beginning to realize that there I was saying something that honestly I undermined, because now that you are explaining it, it's very critical that really what Ntate Molefe said, define your value proposition. That is my takeaway statement, because I think it embodies everything that you're going to do in your journey when you decide to do whatever that you want to do. But also, I think what has actually given us encouragement as well, the definite request that our webinars and these dialogues that we are having, at some point we will need to gravitate them to a point where we could have an audience that can be able to be interactive. Like I indicated when I started that, you know, my mantra these days is about learning, relearning, and unlearning some of the things so that you can relearn again. At first, it was learning, relearn, unlearn, and relearn. But lately, we are on this platform right now. We are encountering all these hiccups. Why? Because we are unlearning the face-to-face knowledge that we used to have. We are getting into a new space where we need to be able to still have the same impact in terms of information that we can disseminate, have the same impact in terms of supporting each other, even though there's a social distancing aspect of it. So for me, then the importance of these webinars is so imperative. And when we receive feedback from our partner departments, like Mr. Pora was saying, and Mr. Fan, it then gives a comforting place to say, it seems as if, although we are trying to find and redefine our purpose, we are in the right track. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think Nolo has done the thanking of everybody who is here, but most importantly, the spirit of innovation that we are embracing, all of us that we're here. We started at 200, but we know that the difficulty of data is facing so many of us, and the difficulty of connectivity in some of the areas is affecting all of us. But as we leave this platform, whatever it is that has been spoken about, go, write it down, take an action on it. Where you find that you are struggling, our website is there, www.nsg.gov.za. We can be able to be reached through our contacts as well, that will be informing you as to how to contact us for the various things that you would want to know or that you would like to get support on, when the emails with the presentations will be sent out to all the attendees. Nolo, thank you very much, our program director. In spite of all the connectivity challenges, you were there and you supported us. Thank you so much, colleagues from the induction team, for making sure that this day became the way it is. Because of everything that we are doing right now, we are doing it out of the spaces that we find ourselves in our homes. It's not a very easy environment to put up an event like this one, but we have pulled it through. And I would like to say thank you so much to all the administrators in the background. One thing that we are learning is that you can never have a successful webinar like this one unless you have administrators who are backing you, who are taking all the complaints of people that can log in, that can't log in, and all those things. Colleagues, thank you ever so much. I appreciate you. Until we meet again in August, shalom.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye,
everyone.
Bye-bye, colleagues.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All the way. All the way. Thank you to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.